Hello everybody, Ashley here. This is an update on my cat Ricochet. So before we get into this video, the usual disclaimer, I am not a veterinarian. I'm just sharing what I'm going to share in this video as just purely my experience. If it stimulates a certain discussion with you and your veterinarian or veterinary cardiologist, then wonderful. Go through your vet before you try anything on your own. I heard some phenomenal news. Well, it's not definitively in the clear kind of news, but it was really good news on Thursday. And I want to share that with you in a second. But first, I kind of want to recap where I was at with that. Now, if you saw the last video or the last couple of videos of the update with Ricochet, you know that he has HOCM, you know that he was on diuretics, you know that the diuretics were dehydrating him and that was leading to some constipation. You know that I switched from his older, kibble that had higher sodium. It was high quality kibble, but it had high sodium content, as a lot of regular cat food does. And we switched to this hairball food that had some laxative qualities. I'm not so sure the overall quality of the food was best matched for Ricochet in other areas, and I think it's a fine food, but it's not. I don't know if it's like the highest quality from a raw protein perspective. It has a different purpose. And so I've been really happy with that other food. That was this one change that I had made. And then on the next visit, we found out that his blood clot had increased. It had been diminishing from this medication he was taking to diminish this blood clot, which was phenomenal. But then all of a sudden we heard that it had increased in size by 1 centimeter. I was like, well, what changed? So the only things that I knew changed were we switched away from his old diet in order to mitigate the constipation, and it was also summer weather, so the temperature had changed, but he's been through summers before, but this is, I think, our first summer with the blood clot, so maybe that was a factor. Maybe the warmer weather, maybe in combination with the diet, I don't know. Also, he's an indoor cat, so maybe I was thinking that could be, leading to some stagnation. I do try to engage with him quite a bit and play and stuff like that, but I was thinking maybe like relative stagnation compared to like if you were in the wild, coupled with diet change, coupled with the heat, maybe some combination of these. I decided to switch back to his old diet, but since having his new diet and dealing with the constipation, what I've learned is you can sprinkle Miralax on dry kibble, because most dry kibble is not 100% dry, and the Miralax will stick to it. So what I had never done with his old diet is used Miralax in the old kibble. I had used it in wet food, but he was eating more kibble than wet food. And what I've learned since is you can sprinkle that Miralax on dry kibble. And so I sprinkle that on his kibble. And so ever since switching back to his old diet, since that last visit where I found out the blood clot had increased by about 1 centimeter, he's been eating his old kibble. I've intermixed it with some of that newer kibble, which is now being phased out. I kind of phased it out slowly, so he's had a little bit of a mix, but it's mostly his older kibble now. And he's been eating that older kibble, and no constipation, really good bowel movements on a regular basis. I checked the litter box and everything, so everything's been going really well there. What I didn't know was this effective? Oh, also too, I was really trying to give him as good a workout as I can. Not too intense, but playing with the string toy and stuff quite a bit concertedly when I get home. Usually we have some informal play with that string toy, but I was really trying to engage him as long as he would want to, until he would sort of sit down. And when he would sit down and rest for a bit, then, he might want to play again, and so I'd play with him some more. So he got some more activity as well. So there was a combination of going back to this older kibble as well as more play, and we're entering into the fall season right now, so the temperatures are cooling down. So there's a number of significant factors which have changed, and I don't know if any of them have affected anything that I'm about to talk about here. Obviously, there's some good news here, so let me just get to that good news. Basically, here's what happened. Of that 1 centimeter that increased last time, it's gone down 40% of that 1 centimeter. So I think it's about 3 or 4 millimeters. I'll get the final report. Blood clots are not just one-dimensional, but overall about a 40% decrease, not of the entire clot, but of the 1 centimeter increase. But I think it's phenomenal that we see a decrease in size of the blood clot. Something, I don't know what it is, something makes me think that the increase in temperature in summer and or his change in diet, and I'm really kind of thinking that change in diet, because we were going from sort of a relatively higher quality protein kibble, even though it had higher sodium content. It was, I think, a higher quality, sort of, closer to, put it this way, it was closer to a raw protein diet than I believe this, sort of hairball remedy kibble that had laxative qualities. It's just, I had some suspicions about that. So that's kind of where I'm placing my bets, So far we see that decrease, and that's really good. And it doesn't really matter to me what it is that's causing the decrease. I think what I want to do is stick to the, the same plan that we're on right now and just keep trucking forward with that. Whether those factors have anything to do with the reduction or not, it doesn't really matter, as long as we're on a path there where that clot is reducing. Because if the clot is larger, it becomes a much more dangerous potential. And I'd really just, Ricochet is a really sweet little creature, and I'd really like to see what I can do to make sure that, he doesn't experience those difficult things that can happen with a blood clot. With these kind of patients, that's a really tough bet to sort of make in terms of certainty or whatever, but it's what we're shooting for, to really maximize, the comfort that he can have. But there's another thing which I consider to be good news, even though it hasn't delivered any definitive news right now, and that is that the veterinary cardiologist that I go to did a little research, and I love to hear when veterinarians who are very seasoned and very, very good at what they do actually reach out to colleagues still, and they don't get trapped in a bubble of not connecting to kind of see where the technology is going and stuff. And I'm very fortunate because this person stays in touch with folks, and somehow he knows of this particular kind of blood screen you can do where they send the blood off. I believe it's to Cornell in New York or something like that. And I'll put a link below in the description. I believe I went to their website, and there is a link that I can give you that describes kind of what this blood test does. But it basically is a way of measuring the level of this blood clot reducing medication that is in his blood. And by looking at that profile, my veterinarian, if it looks like what's in his blood is a little bit lower than what we could have there as a maximum, then we might be able to increase the dosage a little bit, and it might make the overall, effect of that medication even more powerful at reducing the clot. So now that we're seeing a diminishing on the same dosage, if we find out we can increase the dosage of that medication, then it might mean we'll get even more for our money there, which is, kind of hopeful. We got to see what the results are. It might just be that the results come back and it looks like, hey, we're at the right point and we can't increase it, but it could also be that we can increase it. And if we can, then that's going to be positive. So anyway, this is just a small little update video. I didn't really want to just do a whole big thing. I'm just going to keep this one really brief for right now. I will let you guys know if I, hear anything on this blood screen and whether we can increase the dosage. But the blood clot reduced a little bit, so my fingers are crossed. I really want to, this little guy, he's sitting right here. I don't know if it's in the camera there, it's probably not. And so anyway, that's it. For those of you out there that have cats with this condition or something like that, I hope this information helps you. I'm not a veterinarian, so of course run everything by your veterinarian. It's just a little disclaimer. It's really important to go through your vet on things like this. That was really a lovely news this Thursday. I just, these guys are really small creatures, and sometimes veterinary care is very tricky with these small guys because their parts are all small and stuff, and it's tough to manage some of these things. But in this case, there was a win. And that is that this blood clot is reduced in size. So yay, Ricochet. I got to give props to him. I think he's a positive thinker, so he's playing a role in this as well too. All right, that's it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, bud. Do you want to say hello to folks? What a good guy. Hello. Meow. I love you. Can you give me 5? Oh, what a good guy. That's a good guy.